Right, here we go. So Paul, thanks for joining me here on the first episode of Logically Speaking. So it's a new video series that we're launching where we want to speak to industry experts like yourself, learn a bit more about the industry, the direction things are going, and hopefully give some tips to our network on hiring and also on job seekers as well. So first and foremost, Paul, I'd love for you to tell the audience who you are and kind of introduce yourself.
Well, first I want to say thanks so much for having me. I'm really happy to see that you're doing this. And I think this is just a valuable piece of content to have out in the world. So I'm really excited to see where the series goes. Quick background on my side. I am a head of data science at PlaceIQ, which is a location data as a service company. So it's a really wonderful place to be a data scientist. And sort of my career path that got me here was a PhD in plasma physics, then a stint in management consulting for a while. Then I joined PlaceIQ in 2016. So I've been plugging away at data science and getting comfortable in the company for quite a while now.
Awesome. And I guess in kind of terms of PlaceIQ, bring it back to right at the start of your journey, how did you find your way into data in the first place?
My full journey is maybe a little bit dated now since I got my PhD and finished in 2011. And at that time, when you weren't sure if you wanted to stay in academia and you were looking at other things to do, management consulting was the big draw, and kind of data science was still just starting to become something people knew about. But after my stint in management consulting, I took a break from working in the corporate world, hunted around. I found Insight Data Science actually was a program that I joined for PhDs to just get more familiar with data science and kind of give a stamp of approval to tell companies that they could then hire me as a data scientist. And so coming out of that, I explored around and found PlaceIQ, and it was just a perfect fit.
Smart. And what would you say actually drew you to data science? I know you were doing, I think it was plasma physics as kind of your initial PhD. And what kind of drew you from that to data science?
I mean, I wish that I had like a really creative story to tell. I can tell you that one of the data scientists on my team has more of a kind of a counterterrorism background, and she probably could tell you a much cooler story about what brought her along this way. Mine is that doing data science is very similar to doing plasma physics. I don't have a big reactor to work on anymore that's like an actual machine to run experiments, but pulling in data, understanding what the next experiment I should do based on what I've seen, running into a bunch of brick walls and trying to find new ways to attack a problem. It's all just very similar. And then of course, when you actually do get to things more theoretical, it helps a lot to have had a physics background and seen big scary equations and realize that they aren't that scary once you sit down and look at them. So it seems like a natural fit. And I've often found the challenge I face is when I talk to people who want to get into data science and they're maybe an undergrad or they're just coming from any walk of life, and they ask me like, what's the best way to get the skills as a data scientist that I really need? The easiest one I know of is to get a PhD. And that's an utterly ridiculous and stupid thing to say, because there's no way that spending many years to get a PhD is necessary to become a data scientist. It just is something that happens to help quite a bit for many people who are trying to get the right skill set to be able to do the job.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that kind of top on the list on a lot of job descriptions I read, and it's very much so desirable at the moment. So yeah, I think it's good advice to anyone out there. Bring it back to PlaceIQ then. What does the business do, and I suppose what is your role actually like as a head of data science there?
Our job as a business is to take raw location data collected from cell phones, which just comes in with basically, you can imagine a lat long, a timestamp, maybe a device ID, and turn that into something that'd be useful for a business. Our end output is often what we call like a firehouse of data that is just like events of a device visited this store at this time. And it could also just be this store received this many visits on this day. It turns out that just regular footfall data, you think about it if you're outside the industry, you're like, it must be easy to find out how many people went to a store on a given day, but it's not really a well-solved problem. There's even, there was a time when hedge funds were paying a ton of money for satellite feeds to just count the number of cars that would show up on the parking lot around like a Walmart to understand how much business had been in Walmart. So people will go to great lengths to try to find footfall data. We find it through using the cell phone method. And it turns out that there is a long, complicated process to go from just the raw, that long timestamp device ID to good, clean, this is the number of visits that happened on this day. So the job of data science is to develop that process, refine that process, and find new ways to create new products that could come out of that, or just make the whole flow work better. So our number one thing is data products, and thinking about with the raw data, what we can produce on the other side that'll be useful for someone to actually analyze at a company.
Smart. Yeah, no, it's a fascinating space. And I think it's, how people get in this data, the demand for it is only increasing all the time at the moment. So I think, you and the business seem to be in a pretty good spot right now. And how is it to be a head of data science? I mean, that term is probably pretty scary to some people. What does it mean for you at your place at the moment?
I mean, I'm loving the role. I think that it's really exciting. I think that it could mean, as you said, it could mean a lot of different things at a lot of different companies. And I always try to advise people when they are looking for their first role in data science. It can be tempting to just get excited about any job or any company, but it's good to be picky. This is going to be a big investment in your life. And some of everyone has certain things they're going to be interested in that they're going to want from a company. There's no right or wrong necessarily, but it's good to kind of look into yourself and understand what you're looking for. And there's lots of different spectrums you could look at. One example is you could be really excited about working at a consumer goods company. And it's possible that consumer goods company could have a lot of cool data to work with, but it's also possible that all they really have is like emails and the engagement from those emails. And the work of the data scientist there might be just trying to help their marketing be as targeted as efficient as possible. And it's important for someone looking at a job to think, is that what I'm excited about? Do I want to do that work? Is it more important to work for consumer goods, or do I really care more about the data I'm working with? PlaceIQ is completely optimized and ideal for being a data scientist who wants to have very large data sets to play with and have a ton of demand for the work that we're doing. I think the most wonderful thing about my job is that we don't have to try to make up things, make up cool data science projects and then convince the company that they should be excited about them, and then try to sell that into the various business lines to get them to use it, because we have so much demand for our time. I spend my time prioritizing the 15 projects that people want us to work on. And then I'll say, all right, these are the top priority ones. These are the mid priority ones. These are the low priority ones. And in reality, we're only gonna have time to work on these 3 top priority ones, which is really exciting, because then when someone on my team finishes a project, immediately someone in the business is ready to be like, yes, we have this, let's go and sprint ahead with it. That just feels very satisfying to see your work put in place and implemented and be having an impact right away.
Absolutely, yeah, I hear that a lot, and I think that's kind of a real bugbear I think of the tech industry as general is thinking it on an assembly line and you're working on a really small part and you're not really seeing the fruition of the work you're doing. So I mean, that's awesome to know that your team can directly see how it's been picked up and where it's going. You mentioned there about prioritizing your work, so I'm interested to know, how do you find the aspect of leading a team and kind of handling that versus your individual contribution work, and how does that kind of stack up for you at the moment?
I mean, that is a wonderful question. I've been following more engineering management leaders and trying to learn the theory that's out there and learn from the people that have done good work. And I've seen that Venn diagram where they have on one part is management, one part is interacting with clients, and one part is individual contributor work. I guess the clients part could also be interacting with management or other exec people. And they have kind of the different bubbles of how that all works. And it just says if you have all 3 of those overlapping, it says, this is a bad idea, don't be doing this. And I think that I'm coming to learn that if you really want to excel at becoming a data science manager and growing, there is a point where you have to start cutting back on your IC work. And it's hard, it's challenging, because it's it is fun. It is very satisfying to get a good result yourself and see something all the way through. But I'm just learning that if I want to have the most impact, it does mean letting go of that more and focusing more on really making sure my team is running as effectively as possible and that we're having the most impact in the organization. I think it's something we all just face eventually.